Hello, namaste, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Cricket for Us. We give you the latest cricket news. And today, as you can see on my screen, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Nick from Cricket for Americans. And then we have Jamie Alter, who is, you all know who he is. I've been getting requests on my YouTube channel since I did the video with Jamie to say, get Nick on, get Cricket for Americans on with Jamie. And here we are. What I'm going to title this video is When Jamie Met Nick. Genuinely, that's the title of this video. And I'm going to go back. How are you guys doing? How's everything on your end?
I'm doing fantastic. Super excited to be here. I as well have gotten a lot of requests from viewers saying, you got to meet Jamie. You got to talk to Jamie about cricket. You got to get some people that have some street cred. And so I'm excited to be able to have this opportunity.
Good to be back here, Asjad, on your channel, and good to meet Nick. I've been watching your videos off and on for a while. So I think we're gonna have a fun time today.
Absolutely, thank you.
That's glad awesome to hear that. Right. Okay. So let's start off with the basic question, and I'm gonna tell you first. I think this was the best Test series I've seen in my life. Live, this is the best one I've seen. Just as an overview, I'll probably go Jamie yourself first, and I'll go Nick in this question. What did you think of the series? Just as a quick overview, what are your thoughts?
Look, I mean, fantastic series. Just for starters, I mean, the fact that this team already landed in Australia depleted without its most experienced fast bowler, with the full awareness that their captain, and not just any other captain, but, Virat Kohli, who, I mean, there's no point talking about his credentials. We know what they are. They knew that he'd be gone after one test match. Then literally every match they played, barring the final one, well, even there as well, they lost key personnel. So when you just look back at 36 all out, which I have to say was an aberration, that is a once in a generation experience, perhaps even the greatest display of fast bowling, because everything those Australian quicks did that day was on the money. They could not have practiced for that. They could not have foreseen that. No team could have foreseen that freakish hour and a half session. But to go from your lowest total ever, you've been slammed by everyone, you've been written off by pretty much everyone, to go from there to Melbourne to beat that same Australian team, which was their, barring David Warner, that was their first choice pick. You beat them at the MCG. Then you go to Sydney, where I think that draw probably ranks even higher than the Melbourne win, because, come on, who gave that battered and bruised team a chance to bat out? You had two guys batting with extreme pain. One guy who, according to his wife, was crawling the night before to get to the phone. The other guy, he literally put his life, forget career, he put his life on the line with that hamstring. What thoughts went through Vihari's mind, we can only sit here and guess. He thought, I might not ever play again, because he's at a crap tour. He's drop catches. He's being slammed. He does that. Then you go to Brisbane, where Australia have not lost since 1988. Everyone is saying, right, this is good, but can you do it again? You have to give three guys debuts. You literally have nobody else to pick. You go and beat Australia, where they've not lost for 32, 33 years to win a series. All that put together, yes, I have to agree with you. It is the greatest series I have seen.
Yeah, I mean, you said that so nicely that I'm like, he's got all the great points right there. This series was absolutely fantastic, and it proves to myself that every match I thought was going to go a certain way before it started went the exact opposite way. So I need to stop making predictions. I famously on my channel say it's over, and quite often it's not over. So I don't know what I'm doing in that regard, but that's how unpredictable this series was. I, being newer to cricket, I thought, they're going to win that first match with Virat Kohli, because it's the only match he's going to be with them on. They're going to be on point, and then all out for 36 happened. They had the lead after the first innings, and then that whole debacle happened, and then you see everyone they lose, and I just figured they have no chance. And then they were able to win that second match. Rahane had a century, did a great leadership. It was fantastic. And then, like, to your point, the third match happened, and I went into that last day stream saying, guys, it's over. There's no chance. And then when I got off, the match was still going, and I'm just sitting there like, what is happening? I think I jumped back on and said, what is going on right now? It was absolutely fantastic. Whatever you did not think was going to happen did happen. And then the opposite. And the biggest thing with this series is India got punched in the mouth every single day, every single angle of their face. They got punched in the face with, and they were able to come back and somehow be stronger and somehow overcome. And it's one of those messages that hopefully India doesn't get too overconfident with, for the rest of the world sits there and watches and says, how are we going to have a chance against this team?
If I can just add on to 2 points that Nick raised, very, very right. One, yes, the unpredictable nature of this series is what added to the whole charm, and the fact that it is historic. Have we seen better series? Yes, we have. Have you seen teams, better match teams? Of course we have. But just like Nick said, the unpredictability of it. I was one of the guys who tweeted before, I think when they were losing the first 2 ODIs, anyone sees 0-10 coming up, So if I'm saying that half in jest, but when I'm saying that after watching so many years of cricket, it just says how unpredictable this series was. And then, like you talked about the message. I was speaking to the Cricket Buzz journalist, Bharat Sundaresan, and I said, I have to ask you, what are the Australians saying? He said they are zapped. They're asking me, if this is your bench strength, what is next? Because Australia's bench strength is next to nothing, taking nothing away from Travis Head and Matthew Wade. If they're persisting with these kind of guys, who are like 30, mid-30s, and the young guys aren't standing up, the Australian, the media, the critics, the pundits, they are actually amazed that this Indian team, forget A team, this is your B team at the Gabba. I mean, look, just go back to that 1988 series. They had Walsh, Ambrose, Patterson, Malcolm Marshall, and I forget the 5th bowler. I mean, these guys could blow away a team. Here you had Natarajan on debut, Sundar on debut. The guy's not played first-class cricket for 4 years, You have Navdeep Saini on one leg. You have Shardul Thakur, he's not quick. You know about fast bowlers. Shardul Thakur is not that quick. The guy's virtually on debut. You have Mohammad Siraj playing his 3rd test match. He's told, son, go out and lead your country, What these guys did, So the message, like you were saying, Nick, the message this has sent out, it's like, whoa, watch out for India. If you had any doubts about them, So just amazing, man.
I think I couldn't have summed it up better. So thank you, guys. That's why you're here. You're the gurus of cricket, in my personal opinion. So thank you for joining me here. Just to add on to a couple of points of yours. So my next question was going to be with regards to, what did India do right? What did Australia do right? And things like that. So I'll go to you, Nick, first. What do you think was the biggest thing India did right from, that 36 all out? Let's not disregard, but let's put that on the back burner for now. Let's see, what did they do? What do you think kind of put them into that gear to say, no, yeah, we're going to come back and we're going to come back fighting?
From my perspective, I would love to say that the bowlers and the bowling coaching squad and all that, and they looked at what happened in the first match and they said, this is what we're not going to allow happen. This is, and the hitting wasn't really on point for Australia for those first 2 matches, but they scored more and more runs as the series went on, even as tired as they got. So you can't really say that. If I had to pinpoint one thing, I would say Ajinkya Rahane, because this guy, and I was clowning this guy. I clown everybody. That's just my problem. I write people off too quickly. But I was clowning him from the first match with the run out and with other things. Like, why is this guy on the squad? He wasn't doing that great in the IPL, which was a cardinal sin of mine. But his mentality, his way of leading his team is exactly what they needed after they just got destroyed all out for 36. This was my first India-Australia series. This is only like my 4th or 5th test series I've seen. And everyone was saying all out for 36 just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened. This is the lowest score since like 1995 or some nonsense. And I just figured, oh, great. I'm so glad I'm here to watch this. But nothing against Virat Kohli. I would take Virat Kohli on my team first choice every single time personally. But with Rahane coming in and his mentality and his leadership style and his, I don't want to say laid back, but definitely more relaxed, more patient, I think that was the difference. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it was Shastri, maybe it was some other guys in there that brought everybody together. But you cannot deny as a sports fan that those players did not play their hearts out for Rahane, for Shastri, for whoever they were inspired by. And I think if you're going to choose one person, it's got to be Rahane and his leadership.
Absolutely. Like you said earlier, Nick, you thought India would take the first test, and let's not forget, even before that 36 all out in an hour and a half, 2 hours, they were in charge of the match for a large time of play. And just that one session under lights when they lost 4 wickets, including Rahane's, atrocious run out of Virat Kohli. So, India could have even won the first test even before we got to 36 all out. Moving that aside, we've all been in the last 5 days since that match got over. We've all been looking at what was the turning point of this series, and very, very hard to pick one point, one innings, one spell, one whatever. But how do you look past Rahane? First of all, look, he loses the toss. He's not very good at winning the toss. When you lose the toss, you're already playing catch up from the start. But you have Australia at 3 for 38. Let's not forget, because you chose to bring on Ashwin far earlier than Virat Kohli ever does. So that's a big plus to show that Rahane is on the money here. Then, of course, he goes and scores at 112 or I think 112. There is nothing like leading from the front when you actually go out and do it with your bat. You can inspire in the field with field placings, with catches, with whatever, but until you go out there and you score runs. And him getting that 100 at the MCG was a huge statement from him. So I think a lot of credit does have to go to him. Again, I'm glad you brought up Shastri. The guy gets a lot of shtick on. He's a butt of many jokes and memes, which to an extent are very unfair. But from what I've heard from sources in the team camp and the journalists who are there, he has just said he's told guys, you are the best person out there. If you don't impress here, you're not going to be accepted anywhere until you succeed in Australia. So it's things like this which perhaps in the past many of us fans and critics have laughed at, saying, what's this mumbo jumbo? It worked this time around, because he did not let them settle. He apparently told them, forget about 36 all out. It is never happening again. You're going to go to your graves without ever seeing that happen again. Forget about it. Remove that match. Go out there, and just the day you succeed in Australia, people are gonna remember you forever. So small things like that, it's not about, like you said, it's not about getting your bat in line. It's not the physical adjustments. It's the mental adjustments you make from going to 37 all out, the way you lead, the way you coach, the way you speak. So I think most of the credit should, in fact, go to Rahane.
I'm glad you both agree with each other. That's great to hear. You don't hear different guests agreeing with each other. So I'm glad this is happening over here.
Smart people. What can I say? Smart people.
There you go, man.
Let me ask you something, Jamie, real quick. Sorry, Ozjon.
Yeah.
I had heard from a viewer in a stream, and they were mentioning it as making fun of him because it was after the all out for 36. Did Shastri make a statement after the team selection that this is the best test team that India can provide right now, when they selected those whatever it was, 18 guys for the total squad?
I think I want to say yes, but again, that's a statement that he often makes every couple of years.
Okay.
But yes, given the fact that you had so many injuries, Ishan Sharma is your most experienced fast bowler. He's out. I'm not getting into the fact that yes, they could have flown him out after 2 matches. Let's forget that. He's not there. You have the other guy, Bhuvneshwar Kumar. He's not there. There are no real quality spinners coming through. So what they had to choose from, that pretty much is the best team they could have taken to Australia. So
and I didn't want to misquote him, but I bring that up because again, when in my stream, and you can watch it on the channel, we kind of make fun of the fact like, oh yeah, this is the best you have. This is a joke. But at the end of the day, they were the best squad they had. Like you said, who were healthy. They were the best squad they had. And so it goes back to Shastri. And I just want to bring that point up because at the end of the day, the man was right.
Absolutely. And it goes back to Shastri. It goes back to the bowling coach, Bharat Arun, who I think it was who said it on a press conference. I think it was Mohammad Shami. No, one of the bowlers said when they got back about how from June of last year they were planning on how to bowl and bowl outside the off stump. So if it's true that the planning was going on 6 months prior, hats off to the whole management staff. We've spoken about how the backroom staff, the coaches, the physio have really had to work hard to keep this bruised and battered team together. Credit goes there. I think credit has to go to Rahul Dravid, who's the coach of the junior team, the A team. It's because he's coached guys like Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw, Washington Sundar. So in times like this, you have to look as far as possible to see, what explains this. Because while it was the best team they could have picked out, like I said, Washington Sundar not played first-class cricket for 4 years. Someone saw that, this guy has something in him. And I think a lot of us who watch it, we sort of tend to judge players based on what they do at the international level, at the IPL level. We don't watch perhaps as much domestic cricket, but the guy for his state team, Sundar, he's a credible number 7 batsman, which is the exact role he was given in that match. So it just says a lot about the bench strength, I think, of India right now.
Yeah, and it's good you talk about bench strength, because in this series, I have not seen many players debut or many players be added into the actual playing 11. I think India played about 20 players in this specific series, while Australia only played 14, and that was only because none of their bowlers were injured throughout the tests. They looked depleted in the fourth test on day 5, but barring that, it was like Australia is full strength all the way through, and India lost player upon player upon player. So out of everyone that debuted, we have Mohammad Siraj, we have, I can say Shardul Thakur because, yes, he bowled 10 or 11 deliveries in his first match and got injured. You have Natarajan, you have Navdeep Saini, you've got Shubman Gill, you've got Washington Sundar. How do you pick one debutant from India that you think, okay, this guy made all the difference? And again, I'll pass it first to Nick, and then I'll take it to Jamie. But how do you pick one guy? And if you had to, who would that one guy be for yourself?
I mean, it's the obvious choice, but it's the guy that I felt like belonged there the most. I mean, he just has a presence, and it's Mohammad Siraj. This guy, I said it in the video with Ozjan on his channel earlier, this guy led all India in wickets, and he didn't even bowl in the first match. I think he had 13 some odd wickets. He had a fifer in that fourth match in the first innings. He's seen, and they all did. They all had a presence to him where the moment wasn't too big. Thakur didn't have the best first innings, and I think he debuted in the third match, or at least in this series, the third match. He didn't have the best first innings, and then he was injured with a toe or whatnot. But Siraj, he just acted like he belonged. And I think we saw Siraj, if I'm not wrong, in either the ODI or the T20 match. I cannot remember in the Australia series here, but he was just unbelievable. I know him from the IPL because it was my first season watching the IPL. I'm an RCB fan, and so I saw him a whole lot. I did not see this coming, but maybe he's more meant for Test because he absolutely acted like he belonged. And we've seen debutantes. I heard about Prithvi Shaw and how his debut was fantastic, and then he wasn't that great in that first match here. We've seen them, kind of slip off. In American sports, we call it the sophomore slump, maybe world sports. But for right now, Siraj definitely belongs in Tests.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mohammad Siraj, for all the reasons you outlined, just to add, he had played a couple T20 matches, I think a couple years before, and they weren't very good. So again, he's one of those guys. The memes show up, and unfortunately, that's how you tend to be remembered a lot more until you do something. Even RCB, even when he's had decent seasons, somehow he's one of those guys. They compare him to the Ashok Dindas and all that stuff, which is just really cheap and it's not called for. Even in the IPL, he got that 4 for 8 out of the blue. I remember being like, whoa, okay. But then again, he didn't do it again. So again, the jokes started up. But I think people tend to forget that this guy's got a lot of experience playing with the A team. The reason he was picked before any of the other, let's say, second level players was because he'd been to Australia, England, New Zealand, West Indies, and he'd bowled very well with the red ball. But there was a perception that he was perhaps not as suited to Test cricket as some of the other guys. But when you go and you do that, you have a very good debut match, you have a decent second match, and then you go, like you said, Nick, you go and take 5 wickets in your third match when you have the very unfamiliar role of being the leader, the most experienced bowler, and it's your third Test match. Where have we seen that in the history of cricket? I can't recall many times. To not get overawed despite Australia's strong start on on day 4, I think it was. So he, in many ways, is the player of this series for me. But that said, I think Shubman Gill. The difference between Gill and Siraj, of course, is batsman to bowler. But Gill has been talked about. Yes, this boy has it. But then to go out and you're 21 years old, you're playing your second or third match, you're taking 20 runs off Mitchell Starc. Yes, Mitchell Starc was not the Starc we know. But the guy is smacking him like he's playing in the IPL or something. And that, again, that has really sent a strong message to the Australians. I know for a fact, wow, this kid is 21 and he's doing that. Where are our 20-year-old? Why aren't our kids doing that? Why is Cameron Green still batting very defensively? If you read any of the Australian press going into this series, Cameron White was supposed to be like, I don't know, the next Jack Callis, the next Abdul Razak, the next Flint, I don't know, whatever. As good as he was, he did not look very threatening as a bowler. Yes, he hit a couple of sixes when they already had a big lead. But, you compare India's debutants to Australians, there just was no real comparison. So, yeah, for me, Mohammad Siraj, like Nick said, and Shubman Gill.
Yeah, it's hard to look away from those two. And India had a lot of amazing debuts. You had Washington Sundar in that fourth game. You had Shardul Thakur as well in that fourth game. I was actually surprised because when I spoke to yourself, Jamie, earlier on, we said it doesn't seem like Natarajan's going to get a game. And then India lose 2 or 3 bowlers straight away. And it's like, yeah, Natarajan has to be brought in. This bench strength is just unseen. Like, I haven't seen it live ever. And I think the best comparison I can make, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, is probably the West Indies in the 70s and 80s, where even though they'd lose a couple of bowlers, Michael Holding got injured for the sake of argument. Malcolm Marshall got injured, but they had Joel Garner in the back. They had Pat Patterson in the back. They had those types of players who don't play all the time, but when they come in, they're still one of the best bowlers in the world. I think that's something we saw with India this time around. Yes, Shardul Thakur is not the quickest, but he got the job done. He did it with a bat as well. Same with Washington Sundar, as you said. I keep saying Shardul Thakur. I meant Mohammad Siraj as well. So all of these players have done such a great job for India. Now, you quickly touched upon Cameron Green and his debut. What were your thoughts on Will Pucovski? Because I know he only played 1 game. And I think he was apart from Smith and Labuschagne, I think he was the only other batsman who looked comfortable. So I'll pass it over to yourself, Nick, first, and then I'll pass it down to Jamie, if that's okay.
Well, speaking as someone who was rooting for India in this series, Pucovski scared the crap out of me. He really did, because not only does he have some of the best hair in the game, this guy, Australia's biggest downfall in this entire series is they could not buy an opening partnership to save their lives. And I don't think in any of the innings, Warner, I think, either got 48 or he got a half century. I can't exactly remember.
48,
in one of the innings. And so Pucovski comes in after Burns did not do so great, and Gabe hates himself some Burns. But Pucovski came in, and I think he got a half century, did he not? And I think his first innings. And I don't think his partner did much with him. Wade might have gotten 20 or 30, if I remember that was his partner, but it was their best opening partnership at that point. So he was definitely a man to be reckoned with, and he was debuting. It's just so weird, because I was told a million times that Australia is like impossible to win if you're the opposing team. It's almost like cricket holy land. Like, it's just not going to happen. And you had all these debutants that just played like they belonged there. Real quick, going back to those debutants in the 4th match. Yeah, they gave up like 650 runs, but they bowled out Australia both innings and allowed Pont to chase with 3 overs left. I mean, it's unbelievable. It could have gone so badly. It could have been a 600 or whatever in that first innings. And so, but back to Pucovski, he was a nightmare. I thought Green was really, he was pesky as well, because he didn't score too fast. He got that 84, which was nice, but he was able to outlast as long as possible. And I thought that was going to be really, really vital to that 4th match, whether it was a draw or a win for Australia, just to keep India, with all the rain delays, from being able to get enough balls to chase. It didn't work out that way. He didn't bowl too nicely. I don't know if he's more of a bowler than a batsman, but he definitely seemed way more of a batsman than a bowler at this level right now.
Yeah, he is. I mean, from what we've heard and what we've read and seen, he's definitely a batsman at first and a bowler. But, just the way that he's been hyped up over the last 6 to 8 months, I mean, again, he's not asked for it. He hasn't asked to be praised and to be called the next Ricky Ponting or the next whatever it was. But somehow I just didn't see the extra fire in him. Of course, the guy's going to play for a lot of years. I think he's got the defensive shots. He can hit those sixes big. I think his best contribution was the fielding in the gully. The guy is a beast. Cameron Green was taking these blinding catches, which for a guy who's like 6'7", that's amazing. And again, and I agree with you, Nick. When we saw Pucovski bat, I said this guy's going to get a big 100, and then he gets out, which again is full credit to the way that India, never gave up the whole series. But again, you look at Will Pucovski; he's been on the cusp of a debut. I think at least 3 or 4 times, but he has like 9 concussion injuries, So I think once he gets back on the field and he can overcome that problem, he's the guy who, from this current young crop, is probably going to go the distance. Because look, he like you said, I mean, he scared the crap out of you. All of us watching here were like, man, this guy is going to get a big innings. But I just go back to what I was told by a couple of journalists there, that the Australians, it's been a real wake up call for them, because their bench strength is nowhere near, And if you look at Australian cricket, they only have they're a small country, massive in size, but they only have 6 first-class teams. So what is that? That comes to about 90 odd players, which you have to choose from every year. So the fact that they could not find their own Shardul Thakur, their own Natarajan, the batting. I think the bowling, barring Stark, was overall fantastic. And the fact that you said, Ajay, that these guys played the same attack, bowled a hell lot of overs, did not break down. Even on day 5, I mean, Cummins and Hazelwood steaming in, after bowling, 162 overs? I mean, Pat Cummins has never bowled that in a 4-test career in his life, and this guy's played a couple Ashes. So all that put together, yes, Australia's bowling was outstanding, but the batting has to be addressed. I think it's not been spoken about how poor the batting was. You mentioned, Nick, that they're reliant on Labuschagne and Smith. Yes. Beyond that, Pukovsky. That says a lot about how average the batting was.
Yeah, those two are like their big guns. And before going to Australia, I thought India only had, for lack of a better term, I was like, India's going to have Virat Kohli, who's their best batsman, and Cheteshwar Pujara. Virat Kohli's going to go. There's no Rohit Sharma. What's going to happen? India's going to get blown away. And the exact opposite, because with Australia, I was expecting David Warner, Will Pukovsky with all the hype. You had Labuschagne, you had Smith, you have Cameron Green, right? So I thought it would be the exact opposite of what happened. And again, that tells you never know with cricket at all. You never know what's going to happen. And that's why, yeah, go on.
Show me a person who saw this coming. And I don't know. I mean, Nick's got a hat on. I can eat Nick's hat. I can change. No one saw this coming. I had Smith down for 650 runs in the series, right? So just no one saw. And we when we were making our predictions, looking down the road, we didn't know that they were going to lose 7 first-choice players, did we? Right? We thought, yes, Virat Kohli will go. Ishant Sharma is not going to be there. Rohit may or may not show up, but this team is going to get better because, yes, rankings are not always accurate, but this is the number 1 test team. They're playing at home. Unlike the last time around, they have Warner and Smith, which many people, including myself, used as a way to sort of dismiss, to an extent, what India achieved 2 years ago. And I've been the first to admit that I was way off there. But again, show me anyone, Ajay, who saw this coming, and I will change my name. So, yeah.
Let me tell you, from all the sports that I watch, and predominantly my life, it's been American sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. I cannot think of one team. There's been Cinderella teams. There's been teams that you just did not imagine they were going to be there at the end. But even with those teams, if they lose 5 or 6 of their starting players, important players they rely on, they're going to have a chance to beat the Yankees or the Patriots or the Lakers or whatever. There's no chance. I don't think I've ever seen odds stacked against a team. And I know people are going to say, well, this is India, Nick. It's not like it is, Ireland. Nothing against Ireland, but I don't think their test team is that strong, right? I understand it's India, but what makes Team India, the fact that they have experience, they have these players, and they mostly were all gone. I just have never seen this in sports where everything was against them. There was no chance they had for it. I was going to that last match like, all right, it's going to be Australia's win, but let's just watch it anyways, and we'll say how great a fight India had. But India, those players, they had a different idea, and that's what's just so amazing about, because we can see this situation 100 times more, and probably in those 100 times, India would lose with all of those depletions happening. And it's nothing against India. It's just the fact that you don't have your best guys going against the GABA 33 years. Good luck.
Yep.
Right. Fantastic. The best analogy or the best example I can give to you guys, in my opinion, is probably the way these players will be idealized or basically put on a pedestal would be similar to what England was like when they won the Ashes in 2005, where you think of the great bowling effort from Steve Harmison, Simon Jones, Andrew Flintoff, Matthew Hoggard. It would be regarded as that, because watching that series, that was one of the first test series I watched proper live end to end every single match. And I realized yeah, England should not be winning this test series, and England won. And the same thing happened here. It was unbelievable, outstanding. I was absolutely shocked beyond belief. Thank you, first of all, to both of you for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. I was smiling because I this interaction has just blown my mind. So thank you, both of you, for taking the time out to kind of record this video. It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining.
It's been
You're
fun.
more than welcome. Thank you, Jamie, for talking to me for a few minutes and not, revealing my noviceness. I appreciate it. You're a good man.
I did not for a second think like I was speaking to a novice, Nick. So,
wow,
and I mean that. So, it's been great fun. It's been great fun, and I'm very glad you got Nick on the show this time. So,
yeah, Jamie, I'm gonna snake Ozjar's time for a second and just say, we'll have to get you on CFA one of these days for sure.
Let me know. I'm up.
Awesome.
And on that bombshell, what I will say is I will give you the Instagram handles. I will put everything on the screen when I'm releasing the video. So, Nick, you don't even have to go look for it. You'll see it on the video. I guess Jamie's name, @jamie.alter, and then you can contact him however you want. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. For everyone who is going to watch this video, please do go to Cricket for Americans. Go to Jamie Alter. Go to Cricket Fables. Go to Boring Reviews, all of their channels. Subscribe, like, share, do all the good stuff. It would be amazing. And also, please don't forget to subscribe to Cricket for Us, because we are a new channel. We love talking to these guys, actual experts. And like I said at the beginning, pioneers of the YouTube scene for me personally. So thank you guys once again. And everyone, until next time, please take care.
Later, guys.